Whoa, what's up?
What is that weird? Where's that coming from? Where's that fucking glare coming from? Where the fuck did that glare come from? Wait a minute. Here it is. I got it. All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to bring Lee Camp out of the government secrets. We've turned a corner on the show. We're going to talk about how much we really like the CIA. I think you guys are going to like the tone of the show. We got paid a lot of money, and I think it's going to work out. Raytheon's a new sponsor, so we're kind of excited about war. I think just hold on. Don't everyone flip out. It's going to be fun. Like, war's not as bad if you guys think about it. And Lee and I each got our own private jet. So fuck it. Let's do it. Let's war it up. All right, everybody. Share this on your social media. I'm going to tweet this out right now. I'm going to tweet this out on Twitter because they're so supportive of everything we're doing, as is YouTube, of course. Month 4 of demonetization, folks. All right. That's it. Month 4 of demonetization. The 4th month of the oppressive state. Of course, you can support our show since you cannot super chat on YouTube. You can watch it on YouTube. YouTube is running ads on my videos. I'm not getting any of that money, so please skip those fucking ads immediately. But really go to rockfin.com/Graham Elwood and support what we do. You can tip the show like Tony DeMeo is doing. Shave your knuckles for justice, Tony. Thank you so much. Hey, Graham, would you support a socialist politician who had conservative views on social issues? If they're running independent, maybe. If they're running with one of the two filthy parties, absolutely not, because it doesn't matter what they think or views or what their policies are. The minute they join that party and get in and get elected, that party will tell them, the Republicans or Democrats will tell them what to do. So it's a pointless endeavor. I just tweeted out today's link on the Twitters, so check that out. Kate is our moderator. Pretty simple rules. You can debate in the chat if you want. You start insulting people, you'll be blocked. Kate is kinder than I am about that, so you're lucky that I'll be talking to Lee and not just blocking the fuck out of anyone that's a fucking idiot today. Don't be a fucking idiot today. Did you wake up being stupid today? Then you're a fucking idiot. All right, let's bring on Lee Camp, everybody. What's up, dude? What's
Did you miss me?
I did, Lee. During my days off, I still came in the studio and pretended like we did a government secrets, even though
yeah, I kind of figured you would.
Is that a weird way to do a day off?
So during your intro, when I can't talk, I just collect things I want to say, and then I spooge them all out when you would bring me on. You mentioned blocking people, and yeah, I love that. Like, when you block, and I don't fucking give a fuck. I'll block people that like just say shitty comments about me or whatever. And then people are like, he says he believes in free speech, but he doesn't. And it's like, no, dude, you have the right to say whatever the fuck you want, but not on my page. Like, not in my house. Like, I believe in free speech. Go out on the sidewalk and yell all your crazy shit.
Yeah. I always use the analogy of the comedy club. I go, you can heckle me at a comedy club, and I'm going to make fun of you and get the whole crowd to laugh at you. But if you really won't shut up, I'll have you thrown the fuck out, because that's a private business. And you have the right to say whatever you want. I have the right to tell you to go fuck yourself. I'm blocking you, and I think your parents raised a shitty kid. Like, that's my right to say that to you. So, and also, if you're hiding behind an avatar and a screen name, I think you're a fucking punk. You can't even put, this is me, my name. This isn't a fake. This is who you don't have the fucking stones to put your views out to public consumption. So double fuck you. And, again, your parents, why did they raise such a moron?
Wait, so you're telling me all I thought all these people's name was Avatar. So where it just says Avatar, that's not their name. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. The comedy club's a good example. Like, I've never been into, like, I don't do a lot of crowd work or whatever, and so when someone yells out, I really just think like, oh, you've decided to fuck up my show right now. But I will put up with it and make fun of them for a few minutes. And then usually if it's a good club, they then are like, hey, you're going to leave now because the guy's trying to do a show for people that paid for tickets, and in this case, it's like people come and join the comment thread and want to have useful debates. And if you're going to be a shithead, then get out of the room.
Yeah. That's the other thing too. Like I remember one time somebody got mad before I got demonetized, they put something in the super chats, which I always read, but it was some like offensive joke I didn't want to read about pedophiles or something. And I was like, I'm not reading that joke. And they went, no, that's censorship. No. You don't even understand what the word means. You you're asking me to say something I don't want to say. That's not freedom of speech. Like, right. Lee, you got to read this offensive thing. You got to say the Holocaust didn't happen. And if you don't read it, then you're knocking down my freedom of speech. No. You can make that joke publicly. You can say those things on social media if you want. I'm not.
Right.
And just because you paid doesn't mean I have to read anything.
Right. Like we are prostitutes, but prostitutes have rules. Usually they're like, yes. They're like, no, punching me in the face. Like,
yeah. You can't punch me in the face just because you paid for sex. You know what I mean? Like it's like, that's the rule. So yeah.
The other thing I thought about when you were talking about how shitty YouTube is, and I don't know why I thought about it now, but I love that, like, while they're demonetizing you and suppressing the fuck out of me, and, apparently out of my hundreds of thousands of followers, 12 decided to watch the last video. Isn't that interesting? So while they're suppressing all that shit, meanwhile, even if you wanted to believe in like the bullshit CNN, MSNBC world, like even if that was the world you believed in, it still doesn't explain why Fox News is like completely monetized, completely supported. I mean, Fox News can do whatever the fuck they want. Their daily videos are like, hey, we discovered that black people caused climate change, and like exclusively black people. And like, that's their videos. And they never get a fucking single strike against the most horrifying racist shit. It's like,
they should be deplatformed just for saying Joe Biden is a Marxist. Just that alone is a crime. Like, I wish Joe Biden was a Marxist. Like, like that alone. I mean, is TYT getting suppressed? I mean, no. Cenk just called Jimmy a con man on social media.
Oh, good. Is that keeps progressing? They've moved on from Aaron Mate for the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, they're unbelievable. Like, they get $20 million, burn through it. Now they're begging you constantly for money on TYT. And that's not a con. But Jimmy Dore just having an opinion that a lot of people like and respect and follow, that's a con. Got it. Thank you so much.
So, I mean, yeah. And you and I and Jimmy and, have all for years worked with the Young Turks. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, they've just lost the thread. I mean, when you're just screaming and yelling "fuck you" at some of the best journalists that are out there, best independent journalists out there, you've really just, and meanwhile doing fucking rim jobs to Madeleine Albright, you've really lost the thread. You really have.
Rim jobs to Madeleine Albright. Is going to be what I'm going to call my firstborn that. I mean, I don't have any kids coming, or I don't even have a girlfriend, but if I did, that's what my firstborn child would be called, is rim jobs for Madeleine Albright.
I like it. I mean, it's a long signature, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
Well, the kid's going to stand out in class. That's for sure. The other thing too, like, you want to call Jimmy or you or me, whatever, just dumb comedians that don't know what we're talking about. Fine. But Aaron Mate, like, really, he's a bad journalist. Like, I mean, you gotta be like, I just like you can't say that with a straight face and know
Yeah, and if you're going to believe that, you have to also believe that 4 separate whistleblowers from the OPCW just decided to go along with Aaron Mate's sham. All these professional long-term OPCW employees were like, you know what, this crackpot, he's got quite a thing going. I think I'll just fucking strangle my entire career and dump it in the river because this kid Aaron, it'd be fun to go along with this.
I've been wanting to implode my career, so I'm going to hitch my wagon to a fucking freak idiot and just like, yeah. And he's going to ride me just right off the ledge into eternity. Like,
I don't think there's much money in it, but it'll be a good time, really. Just destroying my career to stand up for a chemical attack. I mean, a fraudulent chemical attack.
Oh, it's kind of great. Like, I've unfollowed, and this is the thing I tell people too: unfollow TYT. Don't give them that analytic. Anyway, folks, this is Government Secrets, episode 44 with Lee Cap.
Every once in a while, we get off on our fucking weird tangents of people we're pissed at.
And forget we're doing a podcast. Like, this could literally just be a phone call between you and I.
The first half is our phone call. The second half, we start covering issues.
That's pretty much what it is. That's the first half is just like our weekly, like, how you been?
Yeah.
Can you believe what these idiots have done? Is basically what.
And I suppose if I were going to be professional, I might ask people to let us know if they want us to include that in the podcast. Because I think most weeks we're leaving it in, and I don't know. Maybe people enjoy our phone calls. Maybe they don't.
You know what I think? This podcast is free, so you're going to have to fucking suck on that phone call, the first part of it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
this is like Mark Maron's first 12 minutes. Nobody wants to listen to it. It just happens. It just happens, folks.
You have to listen to it to get to the good stuff. So, you want a free show? This is what you get. You want a paywall? Maybe we'll edit it. So there you go.
It's like a creme brulee. Nobody eats the shell. They just want to hear it crack. So they just want to crack it with a little spoon. And so this is the candy shell on the good stuff.
Government Secrets, the creme brulee of podcasts.
Or it's a Cadbury egg where it's got that fucking atrocious chocolate on the outside that nobody wants to eat. And then it's filled with fucking yummy goodness that nobody knows what it's made out of.
They should just make like Capri Sun sized bags of the middle of a Cadbury egg.
With just a very large straw. And
it's just called Cadbury Diabetes, and you just suck on that all day, and then the chocolate.
It just says across the bag, "Suck on this."
And then there's separately empty Cadbury chocolate eggs that are used literally to throw at cars. And I say that only because when I was a kid, I was a hoodlum that was always throwing either snowballs at cars in the winter or crab apples in the summer.
Dude, weirdly, the only time I was ever on or in a vehicle that got hit by delinquents with snowballs, I was on. My brother had a physically handicapped friend who rode a scooter around because he couldn't walk that quickly. Mm-hmm. But he would take, he was like 12 and I'm like 8 or something. So he'd take us on rides on his scooter. And so we're on the scooter going down the road and some kids start pelting us with snowballs. I'm sitting on the back. Jesus. The thing, we thought we were like, oh, haha, they're hitting us with snowballs. The thing instantly catches fire. And like the whole vehicle, he goes, I'm 8 years old. I've never heard curse words before. He goes, get the fuck off. And I get off the thing and it just melts into a pile of plastic.
What were they putting kerosene in the snowballs? Like, what was being chucked at you? Were you guys like in Northern Ireland in the 70s? Like, what happened?
It was the IRA, but no, Literally was just, it was a scooter made by his father, who's like an engineer, and it just had like an open car battery attached to it. So they just threw liquid on an open car battery.
Wow. Well, kudos to your buddy for driving around a bomb.
Yeah. So I don't know if you ever had any big time success like that, but
I would be really happy if I would have set somebody's scooter on fire with a snowball, but I didn't. My aim was never that good.
Especially the physically handicapped, specifically the physically handicapped.
Right. Just to really make it that much worse of what I was doing as a child. But my juvenile delinquency and your near-death experiences aside, Lee Camp, today we're going to talk about the two subjects we want to discuss. It's been in the news. One of them has been in the news. Is what happened in Tulsa. We're going to go into more detail of the Black Wall Street. And then since I just did a show on Oahu, I want to talk about how the United States government illegally stole the Hawaiian Islands. So it's going to be it's going to be.
For last question for our phone call. How was the show?
Show was great. It was man, was in Honolulu for a little while and was able to do little 10, 15-minute sets, which was great. But I hadn't done 45. I did 47 minutes and it was awesome.
Nice.
I was able to do some new stuff and then did some stuff I've done in the past. Some of it's older because I was just like forgot stuff. And I was like, I don't know. I got to do this. The toughest part to remember, I think, was some of the bigger bits like, oh, wait, I put that in the wrong order.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was the transitions. Like there's certain jokes I was like, I don't remember how I got to that. And I finished one segment and chunk and I got a laugh and I was just on stage like,
here we are.
All right. So how are you? Like,
yeah.
But it was fun.
I don't remember anything I used to do. So whenever I get back on a stage, it's just going to have to be like all new or something.
But I am excited to start doing stand-up again. And Ron Placone and I are putting a tour together for September and October. So it's going to be fun.
And there might be one or two Government Secrets lives.
We're talking about that, guys. There might be a live Gov Seeks, maybe in the DC metropolitan area.
Could happen.
Could happen. We might do one at Gitmo. We're going to do a waterboarding episode at Guantanamo Bay. So,
yes, indeed.
All right. Where do we go? Tulsa first?
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do Tulsa first. And, I struggled with whether to here, I'll share the screen here.
Well, at least doing that, ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button, subscribe, share this out on your social media. If you're listening on one of the like Spotify or iTunes, give it a 5-star review, thumbs up, all that stuff helps, and share the podcast. We're trying to get the word out on how awful America is.
Although don't put that image up yet. I'll do it later. But
okay.
I struggled with whether to use this as a topic because it actually, for the first time in 100 years, was pretty much widely talked about. It was the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa massacre, which luckily now, I'd heard about it several years ago, meaning I only missed about 96 of the years since it happened. But I heard about it several years ago, but people would still call it the Tulsa Race Riot, which is hilarious. Acting like this was a real two-sided battle of some sorts. But so yeah, I'm going to get it. The reason I did decide to cover it is because I'm going to get into some of the more of the details. A lot of your mainstream media did mention it being the 100th anniversary, which is nice that the mainstream media can now talk about some of our government secrets, our national secrets. But, they waited 100 years for it to be okay on mainstream media to talk about this. But so, yeah, it's, this basically it ends in, most people know, in an area of Tulsa looking like a bomb had gone off. And this was one of the most successful Black areas of the country. But to back up a little bit, and I'm getting a lot of this from the Black Agenda Report article written by Tim Madigan, if people want to check that out. But to go back a little bit, a Black teenage, this is 1921, a Black teenage shoeshine boy named Dick Rowland had been arrested and charged with assaulting a white girl in an elevator in downtown Tulsa. Now, isn't that how all these stories start? Isn't it like a white girl says she was assaulted by a young black kid?
Right.
But even the white police detectives thought the accusation was dubious, which I imagine that was not a high bar to get white detectives in Tulsa to believe a white accuser. But the consensus laser was that whatever happened was innocuous. Perhaps that Roland had stepped on the toe of Sarah Page or bumped into her. But it didn't end up mattering because after the Tulsa Tribune, and this is where your mainstream media gets into it. The Tulsa Tribune, one of the city's 2 white newspapers, ran an editorial under a headline residents remembered as, quote, "to lynch Negro tonight." Now, I have multiple problems with that headline, but the first of which is I don't understand the grammar. But it seems like they just took the words that their angry brains were radiating and just threw them into a pile. But
that's insane. And also, I mean, it should be noted, and again, this is another reason why we do this show, Government Secrets. This is another story that was kept hidden from all of us for so long. And it's sort of the foundation of this show is you and I both go, wait, why didn't they tell us? Like, why didn't I know this? And then again, if it was brought up, it was always brought up as a race riot. Like, well, there was both sides of it blame, you know, like they love to play that card rather than no. It was called Black Wall Street. I didn't even know what I never even heard such a thing existed until again, a couple of years ago. And I was like, what? And of course, that's a threat. We can't let black people have success like it's stated in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. That we have to burn it to the ground.
Right. So the part of this that the article does not get into, although it gets into a lot of things, but is that I'm sure what led up to the thing that led up to this was not the kid that bumped into the white woman, which was a nice little, spark to light the flame, but it was all of white Tulsa being semi-furious that there was a black area of town called Greenwood that had become just hugely successful. I mean, black businesses just doing great, black people entering the middle class, maybe the upper middle class. It was one of the only areas in the country in 1921 that had a really bubbling, active, and successful black area of town that, like you said, was called Black Wall Street. So,
yeah, and like they can't let that happen. You know, America, thanks to these dumb racists, has kept America back from leading the world. We could be leading the world today in all of this innovation and everything else. And still today, 100 years later, we got dumb racists running around with their Nazi flags and their Confederate flags and their guns. And that's what's holding America back. America could be leading the world in innovation and technology and all of these things, but instead we're leading the world in handgun deaths and armed militias, which are basically just guerrillas. That's what we'd call them in another country. We say armed guerrillas if this was some other country, but in America we say militias, like they somehow gives them more credence.
And the outward racists are almost the lesser problem than the kind of quiet racists, the Joe Bidens of the world, most of Congress, Donald Trump, although he's a little more in your face about it. But it's like, if people are carrying a fucking KKK flag, then you can point to them and go, pretty sure that guy's a racist. Whereas you look at Joe Biden passing a bill that has imprisoned more black people than anything this country's ever seen. And people go, well, Biden's not a racist.
Right. Yeah. No, that you're right. That is that subtle, it's the thing like Malcolm X, that famous quote of like the neoliberal is like the fox, with the smile who thinks he's your friend. He's like, actual lefties, don't equate themselves with that. And we're still battling this today. The vote any blue will do crowd is actually in some ways more dangerous than the person who is overtly racist and says I'm a racist and I'm part of a white nationalist group, because the centrist Dem, that votes for all of these awful bills or supports them or says at least just kick the can down the road. Now's not the time for a revolution. they are worse because they allow this kind of stuff to fester. And of course, the Democratic Party, if they would have been the party of kept the like FDR of like bringing people out of poverty and taking care of the working class, we wouldn't have this we have a right-wing fascist country. I mean, like, people don't want to acknowledge that. And it's because of stuff like this has been going on. I mean, we lived 100 years ago, but the George Floyd, I mean, there's unarmed black men are getting killed all the time today. I mean,
yeah, the white liberals put a Black Lives Matter sign in their yard and then think that our prison system's working great.
Yes, yeah. And they don't want to look at what political candidates get money from the private prison industry that they vote for. They don't want to see that. They don't want to look at that. They just want to go, oh, Trump's gone. The racists are bad. Yay, everything's fixed. We got it. Let's all dance in the streets and
go back to sleep, America.
Yeah, go back to sleep.
So that evening, after Roland was arrested, the Black community leaders met to discuss a response. Already a white mob had gathered outside the courthouse where Roland was being held. Some African-American leaders called for patience, but others didn't want to hear it. So a cadre of 25 Black residents, some in their army uniforms from the First World War, carrying rifles, shotguns, pistols, axes, garden hose, and rakes, drove south from Greenwood and marched the final blocks to the courthouse and offered the sheriff assistance in protecting Roland from the white mob. At about 10:30 p.m., when a second group of 75 marched to the courthouse, an elderly white man tried to grab the gun of a Black World War I veteran. A shot went off during the scuffle. Scores of other shots were fired in the panic. Men and women dove for cover, and by the end of it, a dozen people of both races ended up dead. The Black marchers retreated to Greenwood. This is starting to sound very similar to the West Virginia mine wars beginning, where like the guys get shot at the courthouse and then all bets are off. So the Black marchers retreated to Greenwood. A lull set in until 2 a.m., but tensions rose in the darkness, and then a whistle rang out, which many say, the consensus is it was a whistle basically calling the white people of Tulsa out to join the mob. Armed Black residents hiding on the rooftops had guns to repel the mob, but the mob both had superior numbers and also machine guns, which I feel like were not common in 1921 in your average person's collection. I have like 2 or 3 now, but I think back then it was more rare.
I was given one for my 5th birthday.
Yeah. Because the snowballs just weren't getting the job done.
The kerosene snowballs.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was a young kid in the IRA, they're like, here you go.
So the white people had machine guns. They also had biplanes belonging to the local oil company, which circled overhead and rained bullets and dropped incendiaries down. So yet again, you have Americans essentially from the air bombing fellow Americans, but they didn't have bombs. They just had regular incendiaries. But so members of the white mob, which included teenage boys and some women, went from business to business, church to church, home to home, hefting weapons, torches, and containers of kerosene, rousting African-American shop owners and residents, and killing those who resisted and killing some who didn't even resist. A white Tulsa resident named Walter Farrell, who was a boy at the time of the massacre, recalled years later how he used to play every day with 3 Black children who lived across the street from him in Greenwood. On the morning of June 1st, Walter watched as a carload of white men entered the home of his friends. Then he heard a series of gunshots. Then the house was engulfed in flames, and no one ever came out. So that's indicative of many of the kind of first-person stories of what went down. After the fires burned out, Greenwood, known at the time as Negro Wall Street of America, on account of its affluence, resembled a city flattened by a massive bomb. And you can now pull up that photo of what it looked like. Just wow, fucking crazy. I mean, everything's gone. It just really was like a bomb had gone off. The mob had burned more than 1,100 homes. 215 were looted but not burned. 5 hotels, 31 restaurants, 4 drugstores, 8 doctor's offices, a school, 24 grocery stores, Greenwood's hospital, public library, and a dozen churches. In all, 35 square blocks were razed to the ground. Most of the area's 10,000 residents were left homeless. Estimates of loss in property range from $20 million to $200 million. There's no complete tally of how many were killed. The best estimates put the number at as many as 300 people, and the vast majority of them were black, obviously. The exact number of casualties and the locations of their remains may never be known. Many Greenwood families simply never saw or heard from their loved ones again and were condemned to live with uncertainty about their fate. And that, as this author says, that was the first act of Tulsa's willful forgetting, to bury the truth of what had happened. And now we get into kind of what happened afterwards and partially why we've never heard of this until the people started talking about it this year or a couple of years ago. At first, Tulsa's white leaders were contrite. They said, quote, Tulsa can only redeem herself from the countrywide shame and humiliation into which she is today plunged by complete restitution and rehabilitation of the destroyed Black Belt. Former Mayor Loyal, first name Loyal, Martin, said days after the massacre. Loyal to what? The rest of the United States must know that the real citizenship of Tulsa weeps at this unspeakable crime. Okay, so that's what the politicians said. But by July, the city had proposed building a new railroad station and white-owned manufacturing plants where Greenwood homes and businesses had stood. The Tulsa City Commission passed this next part I love, because this is the brilliance of pretending like you're doing one thing and really working on doing something else. The Tulsa City Commission passed a new fire ordinance mandating that residential buildings be constructed with fireproof materials, because that was the real problem. If those buildings just hadn't been so easy to catch on fire, then all of this trouble could have been avoided. All it took was one Molotov cocktail and it would go up in flames. I don't even understand why they were built out of such flammable materials.
Well, they shouldn't have built these homes underneath planes that were going to bomb them. That's the problem. You shouldn't build your homes. Yeah. It's just like, Iran and Syria shouldn't have put their countries above American oil.
They then put in a stipulation that if you're going to build in that area, you need to have a trampoline on your roof. So when the incendiary comes down, it would bounce off. I don't know why no one thought of that before. Because it's really, the builders need to get their shit together.
Mandatory trampoline and bouncy houses on the roof. Yeah, that would do it. That would absolutely do it. You know what I mean? Or one of those like inflatable dragons they have outside of used car places that can kind of swat the bombs away.
Swat them away.
That would do it.
So it really, when it gets down to it, it really is the fault of the black-owned businesses for not having the bouncy castles there in the first place.
Just folks, here's a pro tip. Don't build your business or home or neighborhood underneath planes driven by white supremacists that want to bomb you. Like, that's a thing you shouldn't do.
That have access to oil company planes. Just
access to oil company. Yeah. This doesn't sound like they use racism to then justify a land grab. No. That wouldn't happen in this country. No. Come on.
That's Graham. I'm offended you would even say such a thing on this show. No.
I don't. It's not like 20 years later they did that with the Japanese internment camps in California. They would never do. Or did it in 2005 in New Orleans. That's not. No.
I don't actually know what you're speaking of, and I'm offended that you're speaking of these things I don't know of. Also, our sponsor today, General Dynamics. We'd like to thank General Dynamics for making sure that this show is possible. If you're looking for dynamics that are not specific, then try General Dynamics.
Just any kind of dynamics, they're going to cover it.
They're going to cover all the dynamics.
All the dynamics. I should just point this out in the middle of the segment that this wasn't about a land grab, that just people shouldn't have built homes underneath planes that bomb them. That also, This segment is brought to you by laser guided freedom bombs that just bring truth and freedom in America to your home in a laser guided fashion that makes America great. I'm sorry, Lee, you were saying something about some bombing and land grab
the
stuff.
new ones tear through bouncy castles. Like it doesn't even phase them. Doesn't even phase them. A trampoline is nothing to the new ones.
Thank God. Hear, hear.
So they came up with an ordinance that said you have to build these buildings out of fireproof materials, ostensibly as a safety measure, that had the effect of making it too expensive for many black families to rebuild. How fucking maniacally genius, dastardly genius is that shit? We want to protect you. So your new home, when you rebuild, needs to be built out of like gold plating, because that is not flammable, and it ricochets bullets too. So gold plating on all the homes, only in black areas, and you can rebuild.
It's like, oh God, like, so this Black Wall Street. If you're a white business owner in the 1920s, you should be like, well, let's do business. We'll all do business together. Like, that's like letting black be anybody, Native American, whatever, thrive and do well. That's good for everybody, right? Even if you're just a straight capitalist, right? You're like, well, if everyone's got money, they got money to spend, they're doing well. Like,
well, yeah, but you're missing the problem with it, which is the poor whites who have been torn up by our capitalist system, and middle class whites look over across the street at black people doing well, and that does not sit well with them. That's absolutely true.
Yep. So rather than try to join in and make your own, I mean, this is where we don't hear the bootstraps argument anymore. It's just like, yeah, well, I thought, well, that's what the black people did. They pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. I'm sure in 1920 in Tulsa, Oklahoma, there were freed slaves or relatives of freed slaves, descendants of freed, who were like, yeah, we got out of slavery and now we're going to build our own thing the way the Constitution says we can.
And many of them World War I veterans.
World War I veterans served this country, again, fighting for a war that was initially called Wall Street's War. That then Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah, but one of the most genius things that Louis C.K. I think ever said in one of his routines, when he's talking about a soldier, and he's like that young man is going to possibly give his life for his country. He thinks, and that's all that matters, is that he thinks that. That is like, he thinks that, and so he's doing that for us, even though that's absolutely not what it is. But he thinks that. Yeah. And it's like, so in a way you empathize, and like, yeah, the war ended up being fucking stupid and garbage, and Wall Street's war, but the young men that went to fight it thought they were doing this wonderful thing.
They're always told that.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, Louis C.K. did say some funny things despite being a piece of shit.
I'm unfamiliar. Can you please go through? Yeah, no, turns out Louis C.K. liked to jack off on people that didn't feel that they could say no. So,
yeah, he's a fucking piece of shit. But they should have bombed Louis C.K. Anyway, they...
This podcast took a turn.
A real dark turn.
So... They said they had to build them out of these fireproof materials that they couldn't afford. Luckily, some black lawyers. Here's the other problem: is when you start having successful black people, then you end up with things like black lawyers that will defend the black community that white people also don't like.
Can't have that.
It's why under slavery they tried to make sure that they couldn't even learn how to read. But it was only when black lawyers rushed to block the ordinance in court and I guess succeeded, that Greenwood could begin to come back to life. Then in a matter of months, once reporters from national newspapers disappeared, the massacre disappeared with it, vanishing almost completely for more than half a century. The history has remained hard to find, as if the events are too horrible to look at and the depredations too great to comprehend. And yeah, it really was kind of erased from our history. Now, at least in Oklahoma, apparently the kids in school have to learn it nowadays. That started in like 2005 or 10 or something. But that is not the case in most of the nation. And I think as our mainstream media decided to cover it for this 100th anniversary, a lot of America heard about this for the first time.
Yeah, I didn't study it in school, and I went to a junior high that was 60% black and a high school that was 40% black, and we never studied this. I didn't know anything. We had Black History Month, and we still never studied this. Never knew about it.
And I want to show you, let's see, I'm going to share a different one. New York Times article on just recent one on what? Oh, fuck. Never mind. I was logged in on another page. Oh, well, the New York Times article says that that they just found 27 bodies. They've been searching for the bodies in mass graves. Because basically, while the white people in Tulsa, like the mayor and stuff, were saying, oh, we're so ashamed, this is so horrible, the people were still busy, like, taking truckfuls of bodies, and no one really knew where they were taking them, and dumping them into mass graves. So they've found, this is just recently, found 27 of the bodies, and are trying to deliver them back to families and stuff. But yeah, it could be as many as 300 people.
Unreal. And just like, that's all America does, just keeps making things worse. Could have let people thrive. Everybody could do well. Everyone could be doing well in America, but we just got to keep. America's like the person that spends all this time cheating on tests, and then they get caught and they lie and they go through this whole thing, and you just sit them down and go, all you had to do was just study hard and you would have gotten decent grades on that test. If you spent half as much time studying, doing the right thing, you would have done all right. But instead you spent all this time doing all these, it's like America is addicted. Well, it's addicted to racism. It's addicted to violence. It's addicted to chaos. It's addicted to just.
But I do want to throw in here that it feels like we're just addicted out of the blue to those things. But those things are by design, because in a capitalist system, you inevitably are going to have a tiny number of people with an exorbitant amount of wealth, and then some people in the middle, and then a large swath, often 50% of the country, that is just struggling from day to day, doesn't know how they're going to pay for healthcare, have seen family members die because they can't cover healthcare, or their house gets flooded and they are homeless, and that's the end of it. And so just struggling so horribly. And the moment that even a small percentage of them, 50%, but honestly, if it were like 20% or 10%, decided this is really fucking over, we've really had enough of this, and we're going to direct our anger at the ruling elite, at the oligarchy, at those people with millions upon millions of dollars, the moment that happens, the whole thing is done. The whole thing collapses, because you just can't keep it going once people direct their anger at the ruling elite, who are the ones that are overseeing the systems. And so in order to stop that from happening, the only thing you can do is redirect that anger. And where do you redirect it? You tell people to redirect it into racism. Back then, it was, oh, look at those black people, because there weren't quite as many, immigrants coming from Latin America and stuff. Now it's a lot of, it's still a lot of anti-black stuff, but a lot of anti-immigrant stuff, a lot of anti-Muslim stuff, anti-other countries. You've got to redirect the anger, or people see the holes in capitalism and the whole fucking sham, fraudulent shit system collapses.
Yeah, and that's why they always keep us divided, distracted, and afraid. I mean, so we all are fighting with each other, because if we ever got together, their thing's over. I mean, if everybody just said, no, it's over. They know a general strike could shut everything. Americans could shut it all down, but they're
even a small general strike, like a general strike where like fucking 10% of the workforce was involved.
Yeah. They were trying to do like every McDonald's worker going on strike, and didn't really take hold. But imagine if they got that, or just Walmart. Everybody didn't show up to Walmart, or everybody didn't show up. Amazon job, right? Everybody at an Amazon fulfillment center just said nope, all on the same day, and did that for 2 weeks. What that would shut down. I mean, Jeff Bezos would drastically change his tune. But you know, Americans, because they've been so propagandized, are easily divided. Yeah. They'll easily jump onto a bad team. They'll jump on the red team or the blue team or the QAnon team. They're all just propaganda tools to get people to, you know, the QAnon people are just convinced that they know the truth, and all of us are just suckers. You know, they're just convinced of that. And they,
oh my God, you ever want to see how, I don't know, how certain idiots can be of their beliefs? There's that documentary on Netflix about the flat earthers, but it shows some of their conferences. And like, there's rooms full of people that bring their kids and hear speakers talk about how the earth is flat and cheer and pat each other on the back for not giving in to the propaganda of a globe.
It's insane. And then you see how sophisticated it is. And I have a hard time believing that, like, flat earthers and stuff, that there aren't at least somebody in the intelligence community fueling that to keep people divided. It's just their whole, it seems like, especially if you look at all the leaked documents. I've talked to Susie Dawson, who's done a lot of research on this for the last 10 years. And another reason to support panquake.com is she goes, Graham, if you look at their Freedom of Information Act documents and all this stuff, it's all just about dividing and causing chaos and getting people fighting with each other and picking crazy sides and having two crazy sides and getting people to pick one. And there's no doubt that the flat earther thing is part of that. QAnon is part of that. I mean, January 6th, we've talked about that. The head of, you know, the Oath Keepers and the head of the Proud Boys were FBI informants. Like, we're supposed to believe that the intelligence community didn't help fuel that.
Right. Event? It's not, and a lot of people think like, oh, well, you know, they didn't create this stuff. I don't think they create much of it. I think that they find out what's going on and they just try and foster it. They just, they just fan the flame. They get one of those old timey little accordion things that blows on the flames, and they just sit there at their desk online, just going like this.
Is this a giant one of those at NSA headquarters? Just
And they so that they can get the people who are naturally questioning the garbage propaganda we get from either our State Department or our mainstream media, which are just stenographers for the State Department. And anyone questioning that, they try and funnel them into just like lunacy, just like garbage bullshit. I mean, it used to be, remember, for a long time, it was lizard people. There was all the people talking about, lizard people are real. And
well, they are.
Oh, sorry, Graham. Sorry. I didn't mean to step on your toes there.
You got to come to our conference, buddy. I mean, you really got to get you there. We got to get you on board.
Man, we were agreeing all the way, and then I stepped into lizard people. I'm sorry, man. That was dumb of me. That was.
What happened to that Government Secrets podcast? Oh, Elwood was a lizard person, and he went nuts. So that's it just stopped. That's what happened.
That's where they broke off. But no, it was lizard, and now lizard people are gone. Apparently, that's not a thing anymore. Oh. Then it was Illuminati for a long time. Now you don't hear anybody talk about that for a long time. And by the way, the Bilderberg Group is a bunch of assholes. They are a bunch of horrible human beings. But for a while, Bilderberg Group was it. Like, that was everything. They get together there. They wear robes. They jack off into a skull that has baby blood in it, and like that was the thing. And now you don't even hear people mention the Bilderberg Group. It's not even. What happened to that?
Well, I think there's, as we're starting to open up, there's just a lot of bars and restaurants and nightclubs that are going to allow you to wear a robe and jack off into a skull. So I think it's like kind of more mainstream now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think everyone's kind of getting into that. There's like
I only do that once a year when I'm being hazed on my birthday. That is it. I'm everything in moderation, including jacking off into a skull filled with baby blood. Everything in moderation.
Yeah, you don't want to do it every day. That's weird. But just like I do it every lunar cycle. That's when I do it.
You know when it's too much, when you find yourself doing it alone. That's when it's too much. It's
Yeah,
like,
it should be, and that was the thing. The pandemic, you felt everyone was isolated, so you had to do it alone. And then things are opening up, so we could.
oh, you weren't on the Zoom calls with us?
No, I never got invited to those things. I guess
I'm sorry, man.
I wasn't on that text chain or something. But yeah, don't forget everybody to go make your own Bilderberg ceremony with your friends, with your pals.
It's like build a bear. You build a berg. You go build a berg in your own basement. I'm quitting everything and I'm just selling Bilderberg. It's BUILD dash berg, and you build a berg. And
now there's the Bilderberg app, which is great because you can just like connect to other Bilderberg jack off baby blood skull groups, you know what I mean, in your neighborhood. It's like Yelp. It's like the
By the way, none of this is to be confused with Bill DeBerg, who is that strange Jewish guy that I met on the train. This has nothing to do with him.
Nothing.
No.
He's a good guy.
Good guy.
Double B on the train. He's a good guy. All right. Should we go to our next topic?
No, let's sit on this for a while. Yeah, go ahead. Let's just sit in silence and think about what we've just said.
This started with lizard people, and now there's a Bilderberg app. All right. Well, I'm in. Folks, hit the like button.
Oh my God. It just occurred to me. Do you remember the Bilderberg places? I always saw them in the mall, and they have the bear, Build-A-Bear place. They have the bear skins like hanging off the walls. And the thing is, you go in and you pick a skin, and then you put a stuffing gun like up its ass, and you inflate your teddy bear. So the Build-A-Bear had all these just lifeless skins hanging off hooks in the store. And so I pictured Bilderberg would be like the lifeless skins of the oligarchs just hanging on the walls. And you go and you fill them with demon seed or whatever. Don't tell me I lost you on that.
So there's a demon seed gun at this weird Bilderberg like prairie style trading post with just pelts hanging from the book.
It's actually just Dick Cheney's cock is the demon seed gun. I should have led with that.
Okay, so when Dick Cheney shot his buddy in the back, he was basically just shooting a Bilderberg gun at his buddy, right? Is that what?
Yeah.
Trying to fill him with Bilderberg seeds. All right.
No, he shot his buddy in the face, Graham. Get it straight. He shot him in the fucking face, and then the dude came out of the hospital and apologized to Dick Cheney. Like, that is power. That is power. You shoot your friend in the face, and he apologizes to you.
That's insane. I mean, if anybody deserved to have a Bilderberg gun shot at them, it's Dick Cheney. But he is the Bilderberg gun. He's all demon. So since I was doing a show in Hawaii, I wanted to talk about what happened let me bring this up here. There's an article that I wanted to bring up. So where is the year? Boo boo. Hold on.
And by the way, if you want any of those slides, I can share them.
Yeah, but there isn't like text in the slides. They're just kind of photos. So I wanted to go into the specific. Shit.
Well, no, the ones I have are just the ones I have are just 3 photos.
Okay. Let me open this up real quick. Sorry, I thought I had it. Okay. Okay. This is what I wanted to read. Here we go. Sorry, I had the wrong thing opened up. Hold on. Sorry, everybody. In the meantime, follow Lee and I online.
Should I get on my ukulele? Or...
All right, let me get. So this is damn, this document.
Yeah, everybody. After the show is over, check out leecamp.com. There's some lovely stuff over there, including tonight, a new episode of Redacted Tonight.
Yes, check that out. All right. Here's what I wanted to read up. Okay. So this was the July 6th. It's called the Bayonet Constitution. Rebels pressured King David Kalakaua to sign a constitution that reduced Native Hawaiian sovereignty. And you can put up his photo if you want.
It's up there.
Okay. So what basically happened at that point in the late 1800s, Hawaii was its own country, and it's still actually recognized in some places today as its own country. So the gun surrounding King Kalakaua on that fateful day belonged to members of a militia nicknamed the Honolulu Rifles, made up largely of what? Oh, this is going to sound weird, Lee. Made up of white settlers. Boy, we didn't just hear that in your story.
Stop. What were the name of the people, the indigenous on Hawaii?
Well, they were just indigenous Hawaiians, and there was a royal family, right? So right. Actually, the Iolani Palace is the only royal palace on American soil right here in downtown Honolulu. So the successor as monarch was his sister, Queen Liliuokalani. Later speculated Kalakaua would have been killed had he not signed the new constitution. They basically they just did it like mob style, like
right.
Vito Corleone, and just put a horse's head in his bed and said, yeah, you're going to want to sign this thing over.
Offer he couldn't refuse.
Definitely an offer he couldn't refuse. The Hawaiian the Honolulu Rifles were affiliated with a group called the Hawaiian League, which drafted the new constitution to transfer power from the monarchy to the more settler-friendly legislature. The document
settler-friendly is a nice way to do it. It's also I also love that the word settler has settle in it, as if it's very calm when people come and take over your whole nation and your community and destroy your culture. It's that really settles things down.
Just everybody settle down. It's like been kind of crazy. Yeah, it's crazy because you're trying to steal our land. Well, there's two sides. Everybody just no, we don't want to sign this document. Well, just let's not. No, we don't want any more bloodshed. It's you caused the bloodshed.
No, yeah, you made it crazy. But we're gonna. It's gonna be nice and easy now. It's gonna be nice and easy.
I love a good corporate scrubbed term for just like genocidal colonialism. It's settler friendly. You know what I mean? It's Jeffrey Dahmer was a foodie.
He was leftovers friendly. He honestly, he was environmentalist because he would keep the leftovers for a long period of time. He wouldn't throw them out. Most people throw them out.
Well, like Mother Nature has no waste. That's what Jeffrey Dahmer was doing. He was just using everything. He didn't waste anything.
Yeah, he wasn't. When you're done with your boyfriend, you don't waste him. You don't.
Yeah, you keep his skull in the freezer.
You use every piece.
You boil his skull after you fucked it. I mean, that's what you do. That's what skull fucking's all about. Anyway.
All right. There's been.
I've crossed the line.
Two orgasms into skulls in the last 3 minutes. So I think that's our quota. That is our quota.
We're gonna get notes from the network.
General Dynamics is like, you guys really crossed the line. People can't handle this kind of brutality on your podcast.
Yeah, the truth. So the document also granted suffrage to foreigners, generally American and Europeans, by linking the right to vote with property ownership. Oh, that old chestnut, that old game. Isn't that fun?
You know, when you have a good playbook, don't switch it up, Graham. Don't change it.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, Lee. You know what I mean? So we're going to take the land, give it to rich white American and European colonialists, and then put a constitution saying, well, they have more rights.
Yeah, because, well, and I mean, there's also so much hilarity in like the idea, like, you can only vote if you own land. Well, we owned all of the land. Like, it's all ours because we were here and then you showed up. So it's really all ours. No. You can only vote if you have this piece of paper that we just wrote up saying you own land, and you don't have any of these pieces of paper. So you can't vote. Yeah, but the whole island was it was all ours.
We all lived off of it. We didn't need documents. We just worked off the land and we all worked together. Yeah, we have a piece of paper that says we get it and we get to kill you. And sorry. So you guys should have had those papers drawn up before we came here and stole your land.
Yeah, but instead of the paper, I have a lineage that goes back 1,000 years, like on that plot of land, like right there.
Yeah, again, like we need a piece of paper. We need more settler-friendly contracts. Yeah, it's just
you could write up your own piece of paper, but I have to sign it, and I'm not going to do that. So
yeah, it needs to be officially signed by me. Once again, this was our land until you assholes showed up with all of this bullshit.
See, we're settlers, and you are not acting very settled right now. So I'm going to ask you to go calm down and just let us handle this, okay? We're settles. We're very settler. We settle things, and so you just go to let off some steam, go surfing or something, eat a pineapple. We're gonna handle this.
Yeah, well, there's a whole history about pineapple, how the pineapple industry was actually used after they took the land. This is a whole separate thing, but after and I don't know all the specifics of this, but after all the land was taken after this bayonet constitution, then they slowly started to put the pineapple plantations out here, which was just making the Hawaiians indentured servants, almost like slave labor. So like the pineapple legacy has a pretty bad, bad.
And I only learned this recently, and I don't know what years, but for a long period of time, a pineapple was so phenomenally rare that like it was like worth its weight in gold. I mean, it was the royal emblem. This is why you see pineapples on like a lot of old royal British emblems. And like even now, if you go to like Boston area and you see the old homes that haven't been changed since the 1700s and stuff, they have pineapples carved into the woodwork, because it's not that they were like it's not like those were pineapple heiresses or something that lived there. It was that just the pineapple was such a symbol of wealth that everybody just started carving it into all their woodwork and stuff just to look wealthy.
Yeah. So they knew they could make a lot of money from it. Also, part of this too was, and this article gets into it, but it was a land grab, again, another land grab, this bayonet constitution, to then put sugarcane fields and start exporting sugar, because the climate was good for sugar and pineapple here. So they came in and stole the land. And then, so if you're a Hawaiian, you had your land taken from you, and then you had the privilege of working in slave labor conditions in the sugarcane fields or the pineapple fields. So so the white people were like, don't worry, we're not going to take your land. You'll get to be here working on it. Yeah. And now Kalakaua Avenue is like the main drag in Waikiki. So that's like, hey, we'll just name a street. We're going to take your land and say we're going to kill you unless you sign this. And we're going to name a street after. That's what you get, a street. We get everything else.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a long time. Some sort of, I don't know, some sort of game that it's mostly white people play, is like we destroy an area or steal it or kill all the indigenous, and then we name a bunch of things after them. So, we'll keep calling it Manhattan and Dakota and everything, but we're all of you just go away.
This is just, and it's still happening today, of like, even in sports, like last summer, after, the George Floyd protests and then the Jacob Blake protests, and the sports leagues were like, we're going on strike. We're not playing right now. And the league owners were like, well, can we just put Black Lives Matter on your jerseys and on the stadiums and stuff? And then you guys just go back to making money for us.
Yeah.
And nothing fundamentally changes. Can we just do that? It's the same thing.
Here, Obama's calling. Here, it's for you. It's Obama. Obama says, go back to work. So
yeah. Obama says stand for nothing, like his 2-term presidency. Stand for nothing. Anyway, though, back to the leader of the Hawaiian League, Lauren A. Thurston, was the grandson of one of the first American missionaries to travel to Hawaii. Oh, so this, of course, the Christian missionaries were part of ruining people's culture and taking their land. So great. Many other members of the group operated or worked for Hawaii's giant lucrative sugar plantations. Again, so it was about land and money. And who gives a shit about indigenous people's culture?
That's why they call it missionary position, because they fucked a lot of people.
But they did have God on their side. Apparently, God was just a greedy land baron who just wanted to scoop up as much as possible.
God has a long time, known desire to make as much money as possible from pineapples. It's like a hobby of his or hers.
That's what God loves. He's like, hey, go find indigenous people's land and overthrow it, and then give me a taste. He's just like a mob boss, like kick an envelope upstairs, if you know what I'm talking about, and we'll just keep everything going. So
send some sacks of money up to me, even though I don't know what I'm going to use it for up here, because there's no one else, and even if there were, they wouldn't want dollars, but just keep sending it up.
Yeah, and tell Liz Warren to say that Bitcoin's a bad investment, because Bitcoin might overthrow my money stake. Anyway,
dude, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but it's so clearly like a concerted effort now for all of these like mainstream media to like come out of the woodwork and be like, here's why Bitcoin's awful. Criminals are using it. Yeah, criminals are still more often using dollars. So
the arguments are like, every time there's like a big drug bust on TV, right? There's like the drugs, the guns, and then just bags of dollar bills stacked up.
You know what? You've never seen bags of Bitcoins next to those drugs.
And then Liz Warren is, and it's here's another thing that was so crazy. And I did regular videos on this on my show, Political Vigilante, but like El Salvador announced they are using Bitcoin as legal tender in a super majority. They voted for this 2 days ago, and no one in the corporate media covered it. Only alternative news sources, only the like crypto channels covered it. And then within 24 hours of that announcement, which is groundbreaking, which is revolutionary, which is going to pull El Salvador, and all these other Central and South American countries are going, well, we're going to do this now. Nigeria has already voted. Like this is the thing that everyone's like, Max Kaiser and people like that are like, Bitcoin is coming. You can't stop it. And they know this. That wasn't covered. They didn't talk about that. You would think that would be front page news.
Right.
They don't cover it. Within 24 hours, Liz Warren is going, look, Bitcoin's a bad investment. I am paid by the banks to spew bullshit, and that's why I'm going to just say this nonsense. Like,
well, the mainstream media has learned that for better or worse, Bitcoin's value is heavily influenced by, right now, maybe not later, heavily influenced by the news stories about it.
Right.
And so if they cover this stuff, Bitcoin's going to rise.
Yes. And so the hedge funds and Elon Musk and those people need time to buy up Bitcoin while the price is low before it eventually skyrockets when more countries adopt it, and it becomes the world's reserve currency. Anyway, back to Hawaii. King Kalakaua was the last Hawaiian monarch to wield independent political power. The monarchy was completely overthrown in 1893. So after this bayonet constitution, they've just became more of like almost like figureheads. And then they put in Princess Kaiulani, and she was the niece of, I think, King Kalakaua, and they basically, their plan after this bayonet constitution was to just kind of slowly eke away the monarchy and just have it be a profit thing, and then later a military stronghold for the U.S. empire. They were completely overthrown in 1893, and the United States annexed the kingdom in 1898. Annexed it. So they got this guy to sign a fake constitution in 1887, got rid of the monarchy in 1893, and then by 1898 they just said, "Oh, it's ours now." Well, and this is again the same strategy. Well, I guess there's no king and queen anymore. I guess they don't want a king and the queen, so we might as well just take it. Like this is like
it's CIA. There's really no difference to somebody walking into your house and saying, "This is mine now," and you go, "No, it's not," and then they go, "Look at the size of my gun," point at your face, and then you go, "Okay, this is yours now." Like,
yeah, exactly. And then
that's all it is.
After you steal the house, you go, "Well, the guy just gave me his house, I guess." Like, it's insane.
And his fridge is filled with pineapple.
Well, there's more to this too. I want to get into this real quick. So I want to get a little more detail, and I'm going out of Wikipedia, which we know what Wikipedia is about. But again, back to the June 30th, 1887, the group of white soldiers that I talked about was the Hawaiians League, and they were members of the Reform Party of the Hawaii Kingdom, demanded that King Kalakaua, the dismissal of his cabinet, headed by controversial Walter M. Gibson. The concerns about Gibson stem from the fact that he supported the king's authority. The meeting was called to order. Now, remember how I was talking about kind of the evil of what they did with the land and doing sugar and pineapple? Here's a name that might sound familiar. The meeting was called to order by Sanford B. Dole.
I knew you were going to say Dole.
Yep, cousin of the 9-year-old James Dole, and chaired by the Peter Cushman Jones, the president of the largest sugarcane plantation. So once again, big corporations came in and said, "We need this land," concoct some nonsense, get some groups wound up or whatever. And the Hawaiian League of Americans control the vast majority of the Hawaiian kingdom's wealth. Lauren A. Thurston, who I mentioned earlier, the main instigator of the subsequent overthrow of the Hawaiian monarchy, prepared a list of demands to the king. The meeting also insisted a new constitution be written, obviously, which is that. On the next morning, July 1st, a shipment of arms was discovered from a neutral Australian ship. Sure, it was neutral. Later found to be smooth-bore hunting guns to scare birds from farmers' fields. The Honolulu Rifles took control and arrested and almost hanged Gibson. King Kalakaua called in U.S. Minister George W. Merrill and the British, French, Portuguese, and Japanese representatives and requested help, but they suggested that they should comply with any demands, which he did. So all these countries, I'm sure Dole and the sugarcane guys went, "Hey, other countries, you'll all get a nice taste if we get rid of this king."
Right.
So within over less than a week, the Constitution was drafted by a group of lawyers, including Thurston, Dole. Oh, really? The pineapple guy helped draft a Constitution. Now, that's weird. It's not like that's not happening today. It's not like there's think tanks full of lobby groups that are drafting laws in America today, right? Like that's overly, right?
Well, listen, Graham, when there's just like a lack of ideas, then it's whoever had the ideas. So they just came with an idea. Here's your Constitution. I don't understand your hatred towards idea men. That's my problem.
That's what it is. I hate idea guys. They threaten me. I just hate the big idea guys.
You know what you don't like about think tanks? The thinking, Graham.
Oh, too much things.
You should do some thinking.
Too much thinking in those tanks. So Thurston Dole, William Arns O'Kinney, William Owen Smith, George Norton Wilcox, and Edward Gifford Hickok all were also associated with the Hawaiian League, we talked about earlier, which had explicitly wanted the end of the kingdom and its annexation by the United States since its inception. So the long game was to get the monarchy out of there, grab the land, and have the U.S. steal it. So Hawaii is stolen land, like all of America. He signed the document July 6th.
But it's really troublesome because it's more recently stolen.
This is America's long history of stealing.
Right.
It stripped the king of most of his personal authority, empowering the legislature and cabinet of the government. This sounds like Star Wars when they're like, the Emperor has dissolved the Senate and now Lord Vader's in charge or whatever. It has since become widely known as the Bayonet Constitution.
I love the idea that they, up until that point, they were like, well, there's this guy, Lord Vader. I'm sure the Senate will keep him in check.
Let the Senate. Lord Vader seems pretty.
Yeah. What's his first name? Darth? Oh, I think the Senate, listen, the Senate's going to have something to say about this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know he's just a guy dressed in an all black cape, helmet.
Very goth. Has some sort of breathing apnea issues.
I mean, he's got some sort of sorcerer trick where he can choke people with just by pointing his fingers at whatever. But I mean, like, I don't think that's going to be a problem for the Senate. I mean, the Senate.
No, the Senate will keep this in check. That's not a problem.
This will work. It was called the Bayonet Constitution because the threat of force used to gain King Kalakaua's cooperation, while Thurston and Dole denying the use of coercion and threats. They denied it, of course. Queen Liliuokalani asserted that Kalakaua was threatened. He signed the Constitution under absolute compulsion, which is a direct quote from her. The new Constitution was never ratified in the Hawaiian Kingdom's legislature. So the whole thing was nonsense. The whole thing was just a scam to grab the land.
So wait, they still, even though it was never ratified, they just acted like it was ratified?
Yeah, they're like, well, the king signed this new constitution. It's never been ratified. I know. Well, now the monarchy's collapsed. Oh, who needs it anyway? Like, it literally, like, it was just all, like, the Constitution was a MacGuffin, basically, to just distract everybody. That's a Hitchcock reference.
Yeah.
So that's immediately after the adoption of the Bayonet Constitution, the native Hawaiian population of the Hawaiian Kingdom sought to restore the king's power and authority. A committee of Hawaiians met with Kalakaua to discuss dismantling the Constitution because the king signed it under duress. According to Thurston, again, this is the liar, King Kalakaua even defended the Constitution to protesting natives. That sounds like a lie. Queen Liliuokalani affirmed that he was threatened with violence should he attempt to undo the new constitution. She also listed several petitions from natives that pleaded for a new constitution. Out of 9,500 registered voters, 6,500 signed the petitions. Since the majority of the population supported a new constitution, Queen Liliuokalani proposed one in January 1893. In response, the Hawaiian League overthrew her monarchy and took control over the country. So
wow,
that's what happened. And then
if you want to pull up the images, just share. Yeah. So there's King Kalakaua.
Yes. And then the next one is there's really the evil looking white guy. He was the guy that concocted this thing. Weird.
Really? Just because he has a stare like he's just eating someone's liver, that's not concerning?
That should let everybody know he's on the up and up.
Also, that necktie looks like it's a double Windsor, which anybody who does that is a real problem.
And the collar coming up and the weird facial hair, I just think that that's a killer right there. That's just a psycho colonialist.
It's like a Stephen Miller look.
Yeah, members of the Hawaiian League. Oh, look at that.
You notice the skin color of the Hawaiian League.
That's weird. The skin color. Wow, it's all white guys in the Hawaiian League, and like one Asian dude in the middle. Great. That's the Hawaiian League that they were given bayonets. And then is there another photo?
That's it.
That's it. Oh, so there it is, ladies and gentlemen. There is how the state of Hawaii was stolen by a bunch of corporatists and colonialists and criminals.
I am noticing a theme, I feel like. A combination of stealing of areas and lands and burning people to the ground. Seems to be
mainly for corporate profit. Like,
it seems like profit does play some kind of role in this.
Have we covered this story before?
It's tough to say what the profit role is. I think it's like a side note, kind of. You know?
Yeah. And they always concoct every one of our stories. There's always some elaborate thing to just steal something. It's always this elaborate scam and this constant, and then always with this appearance of, well, that's what hey, the guy signed it or whatever, like they voted on it. No, you stack the council or whatever the thing is that they stole.
And that game plan is still used today in things as simple as the bill to help the post office that then required the post office to pay their workers' pensions 75 years in advance, which then bankrupted the post office intentionally.
And weird, and this, I don't know, God, this sounds familiar, like the Dole guy being part of the Bayonet Constitution, and then the heads of the post office that suggested this were like stock owners in FedEx and UPS, which that seems like
it's weird. I mean, that coincidence. It's this whole nation's built on coincidences. Very, very odd. Very odd coincidence.
It's one like episode of Three's Company. Like it's always a wacky turnaround. It's one sort of French rom-com-y kind of thing. That's this whole country is just a rom-com. Like, whoops, who knew? How did this happen? It's always a bunch of coincidences that the people who have financial.
Yeah, I mean, like with the Move bombing where they burned down the whole city. I mean, the whole area of the town connected to the Move household. It really just had to do with the fact they were playing the music too loud. Coincidentally, they were a black, socialist community, but that had nothing to do with it. Coincidence.
So what you're telling me is just a speaker issue, just some like a technical
subwoofer issue. Yeah.
Subwoofer issue. The Move bombing was. It makes sense. It totally makes sense. Yeah. So, man, so that's this is a power-packed bonus double round episode of two massive government secrets, but same plot points, very similar plot points between Tulsa and Hawaii. Like,
yeah, there were some similarities, and similarities to many stories we've told before.
There is a theme. The show has a theme. It's literally like every episode we could end with Smedley Butler's speech,
Yes, we could. Smedley Butler. I gotta one day talk his whatever great grandkid into coming on the show or something.
We should have him on. Well, Lee Camp, I think that's episode episode 44 or was this 45? Did I misnumber it?
I have no idea. I don't. You could have said 132. I would have been like, "Yep, yes, it is." I don't know where I am right now, so
it sums up this whole show. I don't know. What do you? Yeah, I guess sure. Let's do it. That's.
In the 40s sounds correct to me.
Government secrets somewhere in the 40s episode. Beep beep. All right, Lee. Well, where can people watch and get into your Bilderberg group?
So despite what the bottom of the screen says right now, although I appreciate all of Kate's efforts, Redacted Tonight is not a podcast, but I do have podcasts. Common Censor is one of them. Another is called Government Secrets. It's different than this show. It's much better than the show we do together. But
it's the same name.
Yeah. So awesome. Yeah, I'm trying to grab the listeners without them knowing it. So I.
Fantastic.
But Redacted Tonight is a TV show. So, yes. But you can watch it. It is on our TV. You can also watch it at leecamp.com. And yeah, that's my shit.
Right on, folks. You can watch the Political Vigilante. I stream about 3-4 days a week. We're both on Rockfin. Go to rockfin.com and support both Lee and myself. It's blockchain, it's cryptocurrency. And Liz Warren said it's a bad investment. So it's a reason for you to join it all the more.
I just tore apart a CNN segment on, it was about hackers and the ransomware attacks or whatever, but they had like 30 seconds where she goes, and cryptocurrency is being used for all this crime, and then they titled the video "Cryptocurrency Allowing Ransomware Attacks" or something like that.
Oh man, because the US dollar has no blood or drugs on it at all.
None at all. And it's, the problem with cryptocurrency is it's anonymous. We should be able to track and know everybody's name and birth weight in order for them to use it. Unlike the dollar, which is not anonymous. Every time you use a dollar, you write across it your name and phone number.
Yeah, every dollar bill has who owned it before you written on it. And then she's like, it's bad for the environment. Yes, because the US military is so great for the environment.
Not bad for the environment. Also not bad for the environment of those that we bomb, because, their environment tends to disappear as they die. So yeah, there is that. And she loves our military. She loves General Mattis. Big vote, yay for General Mad Dog Mattis, war criminal who bombed a wedding party and said he would do it again.
Yeah. So that's less war and not financial advice. But yeah, check out what I'm doing. And then of course, go to grahamelwood.com. I'm starting to have more live shows. Ron and Placone and I are going to start announcing tour dates probably in the next couple of weeks for September and October. There will be some live government secrets in there. We will let you all know about that. So like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff, and support what Lee and I are doing.
We should do a government secret segment on Elizabeth Warren's cookbook from the 70s or 60s or whatever, called Pow Wow Chow.
Oh God,
it's the most phenomenally racist thing I've ever seen.
It's unreal, where she basically lied to get into a law school or something about her ethnicity.
But she titled the book Pow Wow Chow.
Pow Wow Chow. Yeah. That's a book she wrote back when she was a member of the Republican Party. So that's who Liz Warren is, the big progressive hero of the Democrats.
And she claims that apparently in the book, she claims her mistake was agreeing to take the DNA test, as if the mistake was not pretending to be Native American for your entire career.
Oh, yeah.
It was just taking the test. That was the one thing that was a mistake.
I shouldn't have done the thing that brought forward the truth. That's what I should not have done.
Shouldn't have revealed the truth.
All right, buddy. Well, we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
All right, man. Take care.
Later.
Like cap, everybody. Hit the like button, ladies and gentlemen. We had 342 likes. Let's get that up to 400 and 415 people watching, everybody. I will read the, what do you call it? The tips. Go to rockfin.com/GrahamElwood. Kate said, Kate, our moderator, thank you, Kate. I kind of want Graham to run for office because of this. I would love to see him tear in some douchebag politician apart during a debate. That would be fun. Melissa H, shave your knuckles for justice. Hey, the NSA is listening to your phone calls, so why shouldn't we? But the NSA doesn't laugh as much as we do, though. No, they don't. They're too busy. Why would a shitty job working for the intelligence community? That's gotta suck. Shave your knuckles for justice. Please read this comment. It's very important. Thank you. You got it. I just read that. Eric DeZengio, great episode of Government Secrets. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Eric, for supporting what we do. Don't forget, Kate is putting this in the chat. There's about 20 cities now that are going to do the Medicare for All rally on July 24th. See what m4m.all.org. See what city is, if your city is having one, be a part of the rally. If not, maybe set one up in your city. Eric DeZengio. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Great episode of Government Secrets. Thank guys, and thank you, Eric. Annalise Show. What's up, Annalise? Check out Annalise on rockfin.com. YouTube completely deplatformed her. Another great way to support what we're doing. And so here's the thing. If you do rockfin.com/GrahamElwood and do the premium, which is only $10 a month, you get my premium, Annalise, Lee Camp, Whitney Webb, Jimmy Dore, Kim Iverson, Rod Placode, on down the line, folks. So Gmail is now telling receivers of my newsletter that my content is dangerous and they shouldn't click on any of the links. What the fuck? Really? God, of course. It's insane. God, of course. Keep going, Annalise. Keep another reason to support. And then go to panquake.com because the Panquake, they've gotten so much done. I've seen a beta of it, as is Annalise and some other content creators. It's amazing what they're doing. They just need a little more funding to finish. They've got a bunch of web developers handpicked by Susie Dawson to get this done. So check that out. Melissa H. Shave Your Knuckles for Justice, Melissa. Graham, have you read Sarah Vowell's book, Unfamiliar Fishes, about America's taking of Hawaii? In 1898, the U.S. annexed Hawaii, Puerto Rico, and Guam and invaded first Cuba, then the Philippines. What a legacy. God. Of course, I mean, that's part of what Smedley Butler is talking about in that speech. He helped do, he was participating in that, was like, this ain't right, man. So let me see another way to support the show is to go to Venmo at Graham-Elwood. I will read those as well. All right. Let me check. Truth to tweet. Shave Your Knuckles for Justice. Nancy Pelosi sings Walking on Sunshine, but instead of sunshine, say money. Song lyrics here. Okay, cool. Thank you. Linda Kenny. Thank you, Linda, for supporting our show, Government Secrets with Lee Camp. I thank you guys for supporting me. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. Nancy Pelosi sings Walking on Sunshine. That might be what we're going to do, folks. That's what we're going to sing. I'm walking on a $20,000 freezer full of ice cream. Yeah. I love it when big corps are scared. So do I. Panquake is great. I love how you can turn everything around in a second, make light of it all, and make us laugh. Thank you. Yeah, that's why we do the show. It makes us laugh. We need to laugh too. The Second Amendment protects our right to bear vegan guns, of course, in a well-regulated curl wave. All right, Jimmy Dore's going live. You guys can join that. Let me sing Walking on Sunshine as Nancy Pelosi. I'm walking on sunshine, yeah. It's going to have Dilligan Radigan and Max Blumenthal. That's going to be a jam-packed show, ladies and gentlemen. Support what we do, everybody. Please go to patreon.com/GrahamElwood or rockfin.com. We have been demonetized by YouTube. We're still keeping going thanks to you. We get viewer funded. I get no ad money, nothing like that. So, YouTube wants us to shut down. They don't want us to make any money. So let's bring up Speaker Pelosi.
Hey everybody, it's Nancy Pelosi here, talking to all of you about what makes the Democratic Party so great. Oh yeah, I used to think maybe you love me, now baby, I'm sure. And I just can't wait till the day when you knock on my refrigerator door. Now every time I go to the freezer, I got myself ice cream. Cause I just can't wait till you write me and you're coming around. Now walking on sunshine. Oh, I'm walking on sunshine. Oh, I'm walking on ice cream. Oh, and don't you make you feel good that we can support the American people with ice cream coupons that make everybody happy. I used to think you loved me, now I know that's not true. I'm just waiting for you. Now I want you back for the weekend, not back for the game. Cause it's a weekend. I said, baby, I just want you back and I want you to stay. Oh yeah, I'm walking on sunshine. Oh yes. I'm walking on sunshine. Hello. I'm walking on sunshine. Hello. And does it make you feel good? Hey. Oh, yeah. It's time to feel good. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why the Democratic Party is the best party. People are starving, but we're walking on ice cream. Walking on donor money. I feel alive, I feel in love, I feel like I'm in a wine cave. I feel alive, I feel in love, I feel like I'm in the wine cave. It's sunshine, baby, like some ice cream. I've got a $20,000 in freezers. Oh, walking on ice cream. Oh, I'm walking on ice cream. Oh, and it's time to feel good. That's why we're having the most progressive agenda ever by having the most progressive Congress, not giving the American people Medicare for all. We feel like it would give Americans too many things if they had free health care and free college, but we are going to give them ice cream coupons. I said again, it's time to feel good. And it's time to feel good. Have some ice cream. And that'll get you through these difficult times. We're getting American people just enough ice cream coupons to make it through. We're opening up the economy so people too can buy ice cream fridges on credit. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, Nancy Pelosi. I'm going to drink some wine. Thank you, everybody. Vote blue.
Speaker Pelosi. That was insane. Ronald Brendixon, let Litecoin do its job. Volcano power. Yeah, you can't stop Bitcoin. You can't stop Bitcoin. You can't stop it. MHC, I have so much ice cream. Thank you. So do I. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Go enjoy the Jimmy Dore Show. Have a great weekend. I'll be live again Monday, 8 o'clock Pacific time, Monday night. Let them eat ice cream. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to Lee Camp. Thank you for supporting our show, folks. If we don't get support, the show will not continue. Thank you for joining us.